This comes as we learn more about the Israelis' military, their daring rescue of 4 hostages over the weekend. Newly released helmet camera footage shows forces rescuing Almog Mayor John, Andrei Kozlov, and Shlomi Ziv. The video has been edited by Israeli authorities. The Israeli military says the men were being held captive in the home of a Hamas member. You can hear heavy fire as the operatives enter the apartment. In an effort to give the rescuers ample cover, the military says the Air Force started striking dozens of nearby targets. That led to scores of civilians, including children, to be killed.
Hamas health officials say that at least 270 people died in the raid. Israeli sources say less than 100.
Right. Israeli forces also rescued a 4th hostage, 26-year-old Noah Argamani. She was being held in a different building just 200 yards away.
So, Willie, there's so many cross currents going on right now in this war between Israel and terrorists, Hamas terrorists. You have, of course, the hostage release, extraordinary hostage release. You have Benny Gantz resigning from the cabinet. You have the United Nations backing the U.S. peace proposal. Just again, it's a lot going on in Israel's northern border. I mean, there's so much going on, so many cross currents. You wonder if this point, this sort of the climax of it, where maybe we move to that U.S. authored ceasefire.
Yeah, there are some sticking points, obviously, for the Israelis in there, and Hamas obviously cannot be trusted as a terrorist organization in the negotiation. But we will see. It is, it got the votes in the unanimously, except for Russia abstained in the UN Security Council at the UN. So we'll see. But it's that hostage rescue. When you look at the video there, the fact that those 4 hostages were alive, that the special services of the IDF were able to pull that off. Extraordinary. Obviously, the civilian death that came with it makes things worse, makes things more complicated. But Hamas also could have avoided this by not taking hostages and not hiding behind them inside of Gaza. Let's bring in the columnist and associate editor for the Washington Post, David Ignatius. David, so let's get to Joe's point about everything that's going on right now in this critical moment and your assessment of that peace plan from the White House, the peace plan from the UN. How viable is it? Is there enough in there that there somehow, some way, these two sides could come to the table?
So, Willie, the first thing to say is the White House is really putting on a full court press on this. It took this peace plan first to the G7. Other major industrial nations got support for it. Now they've taken it to the UN Security Council, gotten it passed with Russia abstaining. They now have the world's leading powers behind this proposal, and they now want to, in effect, impose it on both Hamas, which has been resistant, and Israel, which sometimes is a little bit hard to read about exactly what it agrees to and what it doesn't. Right now, the main focus is on Hamas. The Secretary Blinken in Israel made that point very strongly. It's up to Hamas to come to the table and do this deal. You ask, what is the difference about? And really, I think it's about language in the 3-part agreement that, in the minds of Israel and Hamas, determines who can say they won the conflict. Hamas is demanding a written statement from Israel that there be a permanent end to hostilities. Israel says we don't want to sign a permanent statement. Instead, we want negotiations about the transition to the permanent ceasefire, where we get to work out all the details of how the future of Gaza will go. Israel does not want to see, will not accept future Hamas governance of Gaza. That's been made clear from the beginning of the war. So I think what we're going to see is it continued intense pressure. The problem is, what is the U.S. plan B if this pressure doesn't budge Hamas? There's no sign that I see that they're really ready to give up that demand for the permanent ceasefire. And there's not an obvious answer right now for the administration except keep banging, keep pushing, keep pointing to all the international insistence that this happen.
Right, and you look at the end, the third phase of the peace process, and it is the movement to a non-Hamas governed Palestinian Authority running Gaza. Obviously, a big win for Israel if, in fact, that is where we end up. David, it's interesting. We saw pictures of the Secretary of State, America's Secretary of State, shaking hands with Benny Gantz and then Benjamin Netanyahu. Interesting, again, shaking hands with Benny Gantz right after he resigned from Netanyahu's cabinet, a man who many consider to be a possible successor to Netanyahu. We've seen support. We've seen signs that Israelis still are backing President Biden and still see President Biden as a friend. I'm curious, what's the power of Secretary of State Blinken shaking hands with Benny Gantz a day or so after he resigns from the cabinet? And what kind of impact do you think that has domestically inside of Israel?
Well, Joe, the first thing to say is that the polls still suggest that Gantz is significantly more popular than Netanyahu. To have the American Secretary of State, symbol of Israel's most important alliance, there shaking hands with somebody who could be prime minister gives that person a kind of validation. We're going to enter a very strange period now. The war cabinet that's been steering the war for 8 months has been effectively dissolved. The remaining people who matter are Netanyahu himself and the Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, who's from Netanyahu's party but has ambitions of his own. Is Gantz going to try to conduct a strident campaign against Netanyahu even while the war is going on? That would be difficult. That might cost him some of his support. I'd mention one other thing that I hear from every Israeli I talk to now, and that is, don't forget about Lebanon. The situation on our northern border is getting worse by the day. The number and intensity of Hezbollah rocket fire on those northern towns is insupportable. Israelis say they have to get their families who fled the north after October 7 in fear of an attack back there by the start of school in September. I think if that doesn't happen, we could see major conflict in the north later during the summer.